welcome to another edition of Kyle Meredith with. It's the interview series presented by WFPK at WFPK.org, Consequence, and the Consequence Podcast Network. Thanks as always for making your way here and checking out the series. You know what to do. Like what you see, what you hear. Hit that subscribe button. I put out 3 new interviews every single week, so it's a great way to keep up with your favorite artists. And I once again have one of my all-time favorite artists. In fact, this will be our 4th interview in 4 years straight. Ladies and gentlemen, Gavin Rossdale. Hello.
Hey, how are you? We're like an event.
What's that?
Sorry, my blinds just going up. We're like an annual event. We're keeping it annual. I like it. Consistency is everything.
Yeah.
My manager, if I want to play stadiums, just be consistent. I was like, okay.
Well, then if I'm in any way helping you play stadiums, I'm all for it. I don't know if that's consistency that your manager's talking about, but happy to be a part of any kind of routine here. And man, you got to near the record, and I think I compliment you every single time. The Art of Survival. This is a big record. This is a loud record. It's a powerful record. To me, at times, it feels like maybe one of the heaviest records that you've put out. Does it come across like that to you?
Yeah. Yes. I'm finally sort of honing my aesthetic down to where I want to be. I'm the sharp knife I always wanted to be. Yeah, I mean, it's weird because I think these last few years, and I was noticing that every time we play big shows, big bands and big guitar bands and heavy rock festivals, metal festivals, wherever, I was always relying on the heavier elements of each album to for the set list, just to fuck people up, in a good way. And then I did the Institute record in, was it 2005, that I really loved, and I was always annoyed it was not a Bush record. And so since The Kingdom, when I did The Kingdom, I basically did Black and White Rainbows, which is my sort of bruised post-divorce apocalyptic record of like coming back to breathe life on a scorched earth. And I inevitably had a sort of a more injured side, to a more vulnerable side, and then I was just annoyed, and so I did The Kingdom, and then The Kingdom seemed to have the right spirit, and then I, for so many records in as a band, just didn't want to have a mediocre, mid-tempo, acoustic-led, this is the real me bullshit. I just wanted it to be like devastating and fierce, and be like, what? People are like, what is this? This is, I'd rather go down in flames than to sort of peter out in some sort of like, a dimmer switch, so that's it. This is my incendiary instinct.
Yeah, it's interesting how you put it all together too. Like, we've talked about a lot of our mutual heroes before, whether it's Bowie Over My Shoulder, Leonard Cohen, and et cetera, et cetera. But to take what you do lyrically, maybe sometimes with them in mind, and put it on top of something this heavy, this crunchy. What's the marriage of that? I mean, is there a trick?
I mean, there's no one more powerful than, you can never be more powerful than being yourself. And as I've gone through my career, I've just honed it to a degree who I want to be and what I'm inspired by. And so, yeah, Leonard Cohen, massive, just these incredible words. And so for me, I just don't know why, but I'm screwed because I gave my life to guitars and to rock music, right? In a world where people care less and less, allegedly, about rock music. So I have to find how to be interesting to someone that doesn't know or care about me, or and I see every record as a chance to redefine, reconnect, introduce yourself to people, and so my whole MO is reduced. I'm like a handmade noodle artisan, I just devoted myself. So if I'm going to play rock music, if I play standard music, standard guitar tuning, just feels vanilla and lost, and it doesn't turn me on. Unless I play some people's great songs on there, then of course it does. But something about the detuned world, who I should mention from Institute, or the heavier songs I like, it just it opened up something that I hadn't, kind of embraced as much before, and I found it liberating, you know? And I'm just interested in people just having an amazing time when they listen to us, and that kind of massive crowd head bopping movement, and that doesn't come from anything but sort of, well, it comes from doing what I'm doing. And there are people, you know, with someone like, you know, Coldplay, who, you know, I love Chris, and we've come up together, and he's just forged a life of incredible musicianship, great songwriting, and pop music, and he plays to stadiums, massive. And ironically, when I had my sort of softest moment, you could say, on my solo record, InScope were kind of turned on by it, and were like, maybe thought I could do a sort of you know, a solo career, wanted to do another record. But I just felt like it wasn't for me. And I don't know, I just love guitars. I love the performance that goes with them. And I feel at home and at one. And so I forfeit a massive career because I've stayed in rock music. It's dwindling. Everyone's leaving the building. Oh, look, I painted a new room. No one gives a shit. Well, but look at this. I've done a gallery. So now I've done a really good open, you know, open brick, sort of huge loft experience of music. And it just excites me. And the best part is when I play to anyone on a personal level, they're like, wow, you know, just what is this shape you're asking me to hold? Why are you doing this? Are you not, you know, should be kind of going the other way. So I like it for that, because it's, on one hand, it's all wrong and it's all crazy, but there's so much attitude and so much energy and fire that it's just, if you're going to stick around and be annoying as long as we have, you might as well make sense of it. You know what I mean? Might as well, you know what I mean? Oh, great, here's another mid-tempo ballady song. No. It's like, I like it when people go, oh my God, what is this? It's such a much better reaction.
Yeah, I always say, you know, you close the record with 1,000 Years. I mean, that as far as it closes the ballad we get for this record, and it's absolutely a beautiful moments for what it's worth.
I love those moments, and it's not like I'm betraying them. I mean, I had wrote about 4 or 5 mellow songs that you know, we put 2 on there, and I just think it's an essential respite, and I love that. Every record we've ever done, I always have that. And I'm just sort of held back, you know, because I just know that you can't put 4 on there, or else you sort of, you know, become sort of or Elliott Smith like, which would be beautiful because he was incredible, but not what gets people talking to me enough. You know, I don't know. I mean, I could have put more on there, and they'd be like, wow, so it's a real kind of low downbeat record. I saw the Mars Volta is kind of quite a mellow record as well. That's interesting. I love that band, and I was listening through that record yesterday a lot, and I was like, wow, they just were like, they've got I just hear so much in this beautiful record. Beautiful.
I almost call it their yacht rock record, almost. Like, it's, if Mars Volta did a yacht record, like, this would probably be it.
That's a good one. That's a good one. They deserve it. But I mean, you know, from coming from At the Drive-In, which was so incendiary, to then at the beginning of the Mars Volta, when it was really that sort of, you know, Sun Ra progressive. I don't know what the fuck that was. It just was like, holy shit, this is like a different journey. To this, I was waiting for that to come. I was waiting to be sort of the assault, and the assault never came. Yeah. As you say, I was just like lapping up the waves. It was a brilliant description of it, because it's a luxury yacht. Yeah,
it is a luxury yacht. Our favorite artists do this, you know, and that's why we love them. But
well, it's like Neil Young. He did that his whole career, right? Sort of, you know, go from the big records into the mellow records, and sort of be the promotion team nightmare at Elektra. You're like, oh my God, he's, you know, now he's something else. But it didn't hurt him, did it?
Oh, and if they bugged him too much, he wrote "This One's for You." You know, that's don't get on his bad side. You didn't sacrifice anything on this record, and I mean that in the absolute compliment way. I mean, because you have the heavy record, but these lyrics, they're still, you know, telling important stories, telling important moments, whether it's, you know, that first single with More Than Machines. I mean, here we have, I think, as you've explained it, you've like, I think any other artist, this would have been all over the map, because you fit in women's rights, you fit in climate change, you fit in AI, all in one song. What's the story you wanted to tell ultimately with this one?
With this whole record.
With that song specifically, I should say.
With that song specifically, it was one of the very last songs I wrote, as it always happens. You know, annoyingly, you get that sort of, the label say, do us more songs. You're like, oh, fuck you, fuck, fuck. And then that's your ego. And then you're like, well, maybe we could. And it just, that whole Roe versus Wade had been that has been decided a few weeks earlier, a month. And it just, you know, I have a daughter, you know, I was raised by my aunt, you know, I've had strong, brilliant women around me. I've been lucky enough to be in relationships with strong women. Just felt such an assault and such a bizarre step in a world where we're trying to elevate everyone's rights. It just was like, it still doesn't actually make sense to me. And so I was so proud to be able to, you know, with me, it's never about me being like didactic, like a lecturing, because I can't tell people how to think, you know. I'm a mass of contradictions and a mass of insufficiencies and all, you know what I mean? I'm just a perfectly, really human person, and full of good and bad. And like, it's just like, it's more like saying, should we be keeping our mind on this? And what happens is that traditionally, in a situation like this, nothing is going to be more powerful than girls and people revolting against this and voting accordingly. And maybe it isn't going to be as powerful as if we just sat quiet. And sort of, so many things happen in our world that are beyond our control, and we're such lousy puppets, you know. You know, there's a war, so I'm sorry, gas it to be really expensive, and you're all fucked, even though you probably fucked and probably lost a lot of money. We're really sorry, but look at this. Look at the fight that's going on, this war. So we'll put the price up. Cut to, oh, also, fantastic. BP and Shell announced record profits, $8.8 trillion extra. Well, fuck me. Why did you need to make profits this year? Why don't you make enough out of us consistently? It's just we have no power. So the sum of the powers we have would be to actually, in a democracy, vote some. That's the most power we can have. So it's just, that's what I mean. And let's not be sort of blindsided by this big business. So that's it, you know.
Yeah. Well, it's great stuff.
Yeah, thank you. You know, it's very, we've spoken a lot. I've referenced so many things throughout my career, but always been really careful to not be pushing. It's not a political platform for me. It's a social platform. And I just get to say what I think, but more just not, I don't say what I think. It's like what bothers me. I mean, when I wrote Bomb on 16 Stone about the guy gets blown up because of the IRA Protestant bombing in London when I was a kid, it's not saying one person's right, one person's wrong. It's just saying, Jesus Christ, this is happening in this human situation. Look how it affects us personally. My job is much more personal. It's not I'm not looking to run for any office.
Yeah. Well, and further on in the record, I mean, when it comes up with
a great time, the office of a great time.
But you know, Human Sand, I mean, because that kind of brings up the climate change thing again. I mean, and it's obviously, if it's not on people's minds, I'm sort of flabbergasted by that, because it absolutely should be. And it's not a question here, it's just kind of complimenting you how you do work it in, because you're right, it doesn't sound like you're up at the pulpit, you know, or you know, trying to, but there it is.
I love that. One of my favorite lines in that one is that I believe in terrestrial angels. I believe in the power of one. You know, it's just responsibility and empathy and a sort of a connection to others. And you know, it's like I can't help it. And it used to piss Gwen off so much, which I'm delighted about. Would be like the use of, you know, words that have been deemed to come from a religious background: sin, angels, devils, And but it's such rich, beautiful language. You know, it's the Bible is an incredible book. You know, an incredible work of words. And I think that the Terrestrial Angels is just, that's me at my best. You know, that's when I go, okay, it's cool as a cool line. You know, because Terrestrial Angels is where it's at. What are we going to do if we don't have terrestrial angels? What are we going to do? Because it's such a selfish, you know, and heavy as the ocean. There's that line, you're brave, this bravery will save the world a bit. It's like the complete acknowledgement that we're doomed and it's fucked. But every incremental step that we take in individually to help each other is a sort of is what makes community. Then people talk about this like this sense of your community. Well, your community is just like to create a sort of a like-minded set of people, so that we all have shared values, so that we all live with some degree of empathy and kindness, and not simply out for ourselves at the expense of others, which is, of course, how the world is run.
Unfortunately, you know,
yeah.
The angels and demons, it's interesting because you know, the other side of your life, your career with the acting and everything, and they just announced Constantine 2, and we've talked about it. You've talked for years like this should happen. You've been saying this sequel should happen for years. I just went back and rewatched it, and God, what a good movie that is. But I went back even further because I started thinking about the Greedy Fly video, and there was so many similarities that you were doing even a decade before with Constantine, and how this, as you were kind of talking about, kind of religious iconography sort of plays into your art. I mean, it's always been there, and it's so powerful when you do that.
You know, it's funny because I went, for example, I went to school in England. I sang Latin hymns every day,
Oh,
6
wow.
days a week, 6 days a week. My every day would start in a church, beautiful church. Now, I was often late and, you know, not paying attention and that, but I often think that you know, I don't know why I have an intrinsic connection to melody. Do you know? Do you know what I mean? From when I began, you know, when I first wrote songs, I just would sing melodies in a phone like an idiot and get the band that's playing to put chords under it. I didn't know anything. And I think that, ironically, even though I'm an atheist, there's my history, in my DNA. Hymns are in my DNA. Musical cadence, my musical cadence came from hymns, undoubtedly. There's no two ways about it. And some of them in Latin. Do you know what I mean? And then, of course, all the great, you know, there's all those fantastic hymns that are incredible. Jerusalem, I don't know if you know, there's in America, if there are American hymns you sing in American churches, but, you know, things like Jerusalem, it's just, they're rousing songs, beautiful, and I do love churches for their sort of, you know, sort of their sort of solemnity and their sort of devotion and their, you know, stripping away. They're supposed to be stripping away from your ego and just thinking of the power of good and good behavior and good values. I sort of appreciate that. I always thought it's interesting because I was a huge Christopher Hitchens, Roger Dawkins kind of fan, specifically Christopher Hitchens. And I was offended by the idea that you can't have a moral structure without religion, because yes, you can. Yes, you can. It's just incorrect. Right. You know, the idea, there's no vocation in life. People think of people, they don't have God, you don't have a vocation. It's just untrue. The best word for it is untrue, because I'm living embodiment of that. See, there you go, embodiment. There's probably a religious word, and everyone is like annoyed I'm using it. If you don't believe, don't use that word, but it's a word. It's a word. And this society now, this whole, you know, word manipulations, I don't like it. I like free speech. I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't understand it, and I don't like it. I support everyone, but I want everyone to leave language alone. Beautiful language is incredible.
Oh, well, you do some great poetry with it, and I'll agree with you on all that. I was an altar boy when I was younger. I've known people that go to church all their life that are horrible people, and people that have never gone to church that are really good people. And you know, the whole thing's there. I know we're running up against the clock, and I do want to ask really quick, because I brought up Constantine too, and that's just too juicy right there, because you have been talking about it a while. Do you see more live for Balthazar? Is it possible?
Oh man, I'm gonna run back to LA, and I'm gonna find Akiva, who's writing it. I'm gonna find Francis, who's directing it, and just simply pledge allegiance. And like, I just want to do it, want to be part of it so bad. And it's just going to be a case of whether they deem me relevant in there. You know, it's just like, I don't know what I'm going to have to do. If you have any suggestions as to how you think, but I don't know. It's got to be, you know, people always talk about, I'm English, right? So we're not really that pushy. And that sometimes, you know, you hear these great stories about people who were like, you know, and they went to the director's house and they went on their knees and they just said, I got to have this part. I got to have that. I remember, you know, going to see Chris Melandrani about a movie, and he does the music. You know, he's part of the, you know, there's Pixar, or is it Pixar? Incredible, you know, Despicable Me. He's incredible, the most talented man. I remember going to see him about doing music for him or whatever. And he goes, you know, Pharrell called me up and said, I've got to do this music. I've got to do this music. Of course, he did an incredible job for him. And I was thinking to myself, but you let him, you know, like, you let him do it. Like, what if I sat in his office now and jumped on the table, was like, you got to let me do your next project. Is that really going to fucking help, you know? So it's just, I don't quite know how to get that right. How people force themselves and yet get the job. I mean, look at that incredible Nicolas Cage, the unbearable weight of talent. Oh my God, when he is pushing for the jobs and he's auditioning, oh, like, it's a masterclass in acting. I mean, Nick Cage he's the best actor in the world. He's the best actor. I don't know who could pull off that movie and those speeches and that intensity. He's a master. In fact, I should go see him and then get him to help me approach Francis and Akiva.
I believe in you. I really do. Just and plus, you know, Keanu, just hit him up too. He's got Dogstar back together. Not only do you do the movie together, then you do the tour together, and us fans, us greedy ass fans, we have the whole world at that point.
Dogstar back together.
Yeah, he's been they've been practicing.
The world's most famous bass player.
Be a whole thing. That would be a no. I seriously, I would love to see you back in there. That was such a fun trip.
I have every intention of giving it my best shot.
Yeah. In the meantime, of course, you got this record. I'll wrap this up. The Art of Survival is so damn good. I love what you do every single time. Gavin, it's always such a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you so much. Likewise.
Yeah.
All the best.
And thanks to my guest. Also, thanks to you for checking out the episode in the series. Before you get out of here, hit that subscribe button. Again, you get 3 brand new interviews every single week. New one every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at right here on YouTube, or of course anywhere in podcast land, including iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podchaser, NPR, or WFPK.org as well. A great way to keep up with your favorite artists and discover new ones as well. Then after that, actually head over to WFPK.org. That's where I do a show Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern. It's an hour full of song premieres, music news, anniversary spins, bonus interviews, Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern at WFPK.org. Consequence has your music and film news. You can also find me on the social media spots, Facebook, Instagram, mostly on Twitter. All 3 of them, the address is at Kyle Meredith. Do hope you like and follow along. That does it for another edition. I'm Kyle Meredith. I'll see you next time.